So I write a column on BillO'Reilly.com, which I do every Sunday. So we have 5 messages of the day. They're short essays, free. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to do anything. And one longer column, and that drops on Sunday. And my column is called Et tu, Barack? And it's about how President Biden got knifed in his quest to run for re-election. And it's based upon real things, fact-based, okay? And I'm getting a lot of reaction from it. So I wanted to tell you, advance the story on our YouTube channel. So there are 4 of these books. I'm not going to read any of them because they're based mostly on anonymous sources. I do not believe in anonymous sources. I don't use them myself. If somebody tells me something and says, this is private, I respect that. So if a newsmaker says, look, off the record, O'Reilly, here's what's happening, I'll take the information. But I'm not going to report it to you unless I can verify it from some other source where I can use who that source is, a second source, to verify the anonymous stuff. Fair? I think it's fair. It's the way journalism used to be done, but not anymore. Now, guys write books like Bob Woodward, who was once one of the best journalists who have ever lived in the Watergate era. Now he writes books totally on anonymous sources. Hey, Bob, no, not doing it, okay? Because people have agendas and they want to attack other people and they don't want to be known. That's just Weasley, okay? And it shouldn't be accepted by publishers or journalists, but it is. And it's common now. So these 4 books that are out about how Biden was treated by his own party, I'm not reading them. But they mention Barack Obama and George Clooney prominently. Now, this story I know. So, very early on in the Biden administration, Barack Obama, who still holds an enormous amount of power within the Democratic precincts, he was never a Joe Biden fan. You'll remember the famous quote from Obama, which is true: never underestimate the ability that Joe Biden has to F things up. Okay? But they got along as president and vice president. But Obama didn't do Biden any favors. When he left office, he endorsed Hillary Clinton for president, Barack Obama, over Joe Biden. Biden never forgave Obama for that. And that was 2016. Okay. Hillary gets whacked by Trump. Biden beats Trump. Biden's in. It was clear to everybody who was paying attention that Joe Biden could not carry out his daily duties for whatever reason you want to assign. Old age, dementia, whatever. There is no diagnosis of it. But he couldn't do 2 things. He couldn't speak to the press in any kind of effective way, and he couldn't work more than 4 or 5 hours, and the White House logs show that. So he was very, very tenuous in that White House. Now, these books go through all that, but they don't, again, put names on the accusations and this and that. But it's true. Joe Biden was a disaster as president. And if you just look at his policies, you'll come to that conclusion. So there was polling done in the early part of 2024, a year ago from now, I'm talking to you. The polling I had access to through a pollster named John McLaughlin. Okay, no anonymous sources with O'Reilly. John McLaughlin might be the best pollster in the world. He would come on my program on BillO'Reilly.com, the No Spin News, and say, here's where we are, and he was 100% accurate. And Biden was losing in the internal polling. That's not CBS, Fox. These are the polls taken by the very two parties, internal, losing big. Well, everybody in the Democratic Party knew that. They had to get rid of him, Biden. They had to go. So, you'll remember the big George Clooney fundraiser in Los Angeles, raised $30 million for Joe Biden's reelection campaign. All right? And this was at the end of June 2024, after the debate where Biden got waxed by Trump. He goes out to LA, raises the money on stage with Barack Obama. Okay. Biden cannot find his way off the stage. You remember all this. It's documented. He's looking around, doing this, he's doing that. Barack Obama comes over, takes his arm, leads him off the stage. Again, you can see it. There it is. Barack Obama had to know that every camera in the room was going to capture that. And he had to know that was going to sink President Biden's reelection chances when you can't even find your way off a stage. Okay. A week later, George Clooney, who is a Democratic Party apparatchik, who knows Barack Obama very well and has access to him, where very few human beings do. Barack Obama is very protected, very hard to get to him. Okay? Clooney can't. Clooney writes an op-ed in the New York Times saying, oh, I hate to say it, but Joe Biden isn't fit to run again and he can't do it and it's that. Now, Clooney would never have done that on his own. He never would have knifed Joe Biden on his own, ever, in a million years. Clooney is not, let me be fair to him. I don't like him. You probably know that I've had some go-arounds with him over charity stuff after 9/11. You can look that up. You can Google that. I don't like him. But I know who he is and how he operates. He's never going to go up against the Democratic Party orthodoxy. He had to get permission to write that op-ed. I believe Barack Obama gave him that permission. There was no other person that could have done it in the Democratic Party. And Clooney has a relationship to this day, Barack Obama. Obama uses Clooney, gets it in the New York Times, and then Obama goes to Nancy Pelosi and goes, you, as a sitting congresswoman, okay, have to go in and tell Joe he's got to go. And Pelosi did. Now, can I prove that 100%? No, I can't. But that's what happened. Now, the hypocrisy of this all. Here's what Barack Obama said after all of this happened on August 20th, 2024. Go.
History will remember Joe Biden as an outstanding president who defended democracy at a moment of great danger. And I am proud to call him my president, but I am even prouder to call him my friend.
But he's not your friend, Barack. He does not like you. Now, Clooney didn't say anything until March 23rd of this year. Roll Clooney.
I was raised to tell the truth. I had seen the president up close for this fundraiser, and I was surprised. And so I feel as if there was a lot of profiles in cowardice in my party through all of that. And I was not proud of that.
Okay. I don't know one way or the other about that. And finally, one of these books is written by CNN guy Jake Tapper. So Tapper writes a book about President Biden's decline. Well, then why, Jake, were you shilling for him the whole campaign? Why? If he was in great decline, why were you shilling for him? Lara Trump goes on with Jake Tapper. Here's what happened. Go.
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses, diagnosing politicians from afar.
What a blanking phony. What a blanking phony. Then he writes a book. The disastrous choice to run again. Biden's disastrous choice. You know, it's my job, as George Clooney just said, to tell the truth. I was raised to tell the truth just like George. That makes me exceedingly angry. Jake Tapper. Not that hard, to be honest. Thank you for watching and listening to this YouTube bonus. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again soon. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.